Thank you. Big pleasure to be part of this big event. So I chose something red to start with, this Fil Rouge, which in French means the thread that builds a story and gives its meaning. I always thought that cities were good at making sense and building solutions, but when I started seeing all these red stripes appear everywhere in my city, I felt an urgency to remember what makes me love this city. And one of the things I think that I particularly like is to swim in its lake. I feel incredibly free when floating among the buildings. And besides that particular pleasure, I like also that it is a public good that exists only because we all take care of it. And while in Geneva, we do have a long tradition in welcoming people from all over the world through the centuries as well. There has been people seeking peace. Water has become our common ground, our common language. And as we stroll next to it, I think we are all equal somehow beyond differences in sharing simple pleasure, enjoying a nice view. I like this kind of universal feeling, this feel bleu this time. It builds our sense of belonging, and I think that this is also what public space stands for. So water is really an important thread, and I think it's also the place where we are reminded that we are all global citizens when we watch the jet d'eau, which is very famous, but it is all very often lit up in different colors to mark either special occasions or global concerns. And I like this very intimate connection between daily experiences somehow and feeling also being part of the world. I live in a city where there is a bus that drives all the way from a village at the French border straight to the WHO. And as I watch outside of the window, I feel really the physical connection between a local reality and a global institution that has drove a lot of attention in the last year. And if you walk around that area, the WHO, the UN, you will be surrounded by these many organizations and NGOs that are based in Geneva. You will feel somehow the proximity, but perhaps also the distance with these global institutions. You may also stop to watch as these globes. I always find them quite fascinating, telling me that there is only one planet, but at the same time, there are many ways to understanding, to see it, and to think about it. And this year, when I look at them, I have a strong feeling of living somehow in a world that has been turned upside down. I think that the pandemics has put us all under pressure, be it individuals, families, societies, government. And here you're seeing the buildings of the WHO. We have all been forced to consider things with a different perspective. I think we have been strongly feeling to share a common face, a common situation, and we realize perhaps also the importance of working together, finding solution. And as being an urbanist, I've been always convinced that cities are also spaces of innovation and solutions. And yet, I'm also been wondering how the pandemics and all these restrictions have been affecting our living in the city. As all these barriers are being set up, what is public space? I think that in other cities like Tokyo, where people are used to live with high density, there has been rules that have been set, for the citizens to find urban life easier and to avoid undesirable physical encounters. But here, for example, wearing something like a mask in Geneva has been very difficult for many of our citizens, not because people don't want to wear them, but because you feel that this is setting a really strong barrier between yourself and others, and is setting fear between yourself and the others. So the pandemics has also forced us to rethink the relationship between outside and inside. When you have to spend a lot of time inside, you necessarily have to think what is the inside and what is the outside. When you have to spend a lot of time with your family, when you have to reduce your social interaction, you have to think about public space in a different ways. Many times public space is seen also as an extension of a small inside is an extension of your private life, but when public space is restricted, is obviously setting up different kind of limits that is very different. So I think public space is not only about movement and leisure, it is also a key space where we build a sense of belonging to the same society. And those lines that suddenly appear on the ground, creating distance between people, they are helping us today, but they're creating gaps in society that are much larger than these simple stripes. And those myriad of encounters that we have usually every day in public space might be disturbing, and yet they are really part of our experience. We human beings also gain our experience by exchanging, by using our different senses, and not only our voice and our view that we're using tonight, but also by experiences our body. So I think we got all used, and we took advantage also of technology to create new connections, to be more innovative, to create a momentum. We took also the opportunity to rethink our way we're living in urban spaces, to rethink the way we move, to rethink our rhythms. So we also had somehow a very different moment to think about what it means to live in a city. Many people said that this would be the end of cities somehow, that people would like to escape. But all those red stripes at the end that appeared on the ground, they are not only separating us, but somehow they are also spaces of innovation. And here you see these red stripes at the Geneva airport that is separating people, but it is also connecting people who have been traveling and people who have been waiting. So I'm really convinced that cities are spaces of innovation, and I think that we have a great chance to remind what makes us live together, what makes us live being innovative, and how we can go forward and find solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.